Hello everyone, welcome back to OCD Recovery's YouTube channel. Today I'm going to do another video that Rob has asked me to do, and it does correlate in ways to basically the hyper-awareness and somatic OCD recovery process and tinnitus or tinnitus, which is ringing in the ears, or the fear of your ears ringing forever and all the different forms that it can stick, OCD or not. This is for people who also have tinnitus as well, because it's the same exact recovery process, which is highly misunderstood. So before we go any further, if you could please subscribe down below. Great videos going up. Like I said, we're going through all the different channels and we're talking to people in the community, seeing what I've noticed personally is a lot of stuff on acceptance and how to apply acceptance and actually turn it into a philosophy that you adopt is one of the questions I get asked the most. You know, how did you get to where you are? How did Rob get to where you were? And then, you know, it takes time in practice and realizing how many times you're trying to force acceptance and stuff like that. So the video I'm going to talk today about is earworms or anything being stuck in your head. This can be a song lyric, a couple words. Rob has talked about, you know, dog, 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 tinnitus or ringing in the ears and stuff like that. So the earworm category is anything that you believe is going to ruin your life forever. So, you know, let's talk about why people stay stuck. And just to give you a premise, this probably won't be a really long video because there's not too much to talk about with this video, hence why I left it for Sunday. So when we have something like tinnitus or the fear of ringing in the ears, or the fear of being stuck with a physical anxiety symptom, or the fear of being hyper aware of any bodily sensation or any type of sensation-based thing, or if you have tinnitus itself, if you actually are someone who has ringing in the ear from ear loss, it doesn't actually matter. What does matter is the fear that you have right now that is dictating the cycle with OCD specific on why it's continuing. So what are those fears? Those fears are the fear of staying stuck, the fear of it ruining your life, the fear of being different. Oh, that's a huge one with earworms. Well, I have whooshing. Well, I have a train sound. Well, I have this word. I'm different. You're not different. You're not different. You have OCD and your brain is latched to something that it knows you're afraid of. You are in no way or shape different than other people. Just your fear is your fear. And I talked about this the other day with someone. Everyone's fears feel exactly the same to each person, whether you have POCD, ROCD, real event, false event, somatic OCD, solipsism, existential, suicide OCD, and the gamut goes forever. Remember, these themes are they're just fears. It's all OCD. There is no difference between OCD this and OCD that. It is just a fear, and these are just terms that we use to describe the particular fear. It makes it a little bit easier in the recovery process. And with Puro as well, it's a term we don't use. It's a pretty garbage term. It makes people think that they're different. You're not different. You have compulsions. People think you could have obsessions without compulsions. All your compulsions are mental, including the internal thermometer I always use. Segue into what we were just talking about. So what are some of the major compulsive behaviors for earworms? So what do I mean when we have the internal thermometer? Okay. This line right here is the thermometer, empty and full. Every day you wake up and you go throughout your day and you're just going like, how do I feel now? How do I feel later? This is an OCD prime mental compulsion that when we talked about it and coined it, the internal thermometer, it is outstandingly accurate because that's what's going on. And you're walking around all day compared to, did I feel better this morning? Oh, well, man, I woke up with it, so on and so forth. So because these compulsions primarily are almost always mental for a lot of the earworm stuff, there is avoidance stuff. Do not get me wrong. There is avoidance compulsions. There are people out there that I've talked to that don't think avoidance compulsions play a major fact. Well, that's not true because it's CBT or REBT. Behavioral therapy is in both of those terms. Remember, REBT went to CBT. REBT 1955, Dr. Albert Ellis coined it, went into CBT in the future. So there are definitely avoidance behavioral components that go along with earworms. So maybe you might be avoiding certain events or avoiding that song. Let's say you listen to a Drake song and you have a lyric from the song stuck in your head for 6 months, right? You don't listen to any Drake, you don't listen to the song, you don't go near concerts. What I always tell people when I talk to them, OCD is more than likely much more than the one thing you think it is, especially if you're suffering at the chronic level. Are there people that might just have earworms and no other things where it's infiltrated their life? Maybe. I don't see those people and I don't talk to those people. So there's probably a lot of avoidance behaviors going on. Also, the catastrophizing and fear of fear is absolutely huge here. So you have a belief that if you notice these sounds for the rest of your life, they will be the end of your life. It's going to ruin all enjoyment, all concerts, all movies, all hang out with friends, all hang out with loved ones. Let's start to break it down. Let's look at the sidestep of rational thinking. So you look at people and you say, like Kirsty talks about, well, there's 1 out of 6 people have tinnitus, ring in their ears, and they're not absolutely devastated by this. Even if it's real or not, that doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's real or not. Remember that. And it's not about walking around agreeing, but looking at other people and seeing that they don't have the same perspective as I do, even though I have a disorder, can be one of the little stepping stones in going to recovery. But the key is breaking down the core fear. So this is the core fear, as we said. I will be noticing for this forever, and it's going to ruin my life. So let's break it down. Is there any evidence to show that it's going to ruin your life? Well, what does ruin your life mean? Death is what ruining your life means. That's a big misconception. If your life is ruined, it is over. By definition, it is zero enjoyment. It is ruined. It is 100%, 110% bad. It's awful. It's not true. It's uncomfortable. You might not like it, but your life is certainly not over and it's absolutely not ruined. This is such a key for getting through these processes. It's what more than likely needs to happen for the missing key leak for a lot of people. You know, you could walk around telling yourself, like it's just an OCD thing. It's just that can easily become compulsive and it actually usually doesn't get under the core fear. Does it for some people? Sure. For most people, more than likely not. So breaking down that fear. So is there a universal law that I should never hear something weird in my ears? No, because I'm hearing something in my ears. Even if I was different, even if I was the only one, even if I was the only one with this direct word, with this sentence, whatever it is, you still could use the tools to try and get better. And even if you never got better, even if you stayed the way you are forever, you could bring down the perspective and the catastrophizing and live a pretty reasonable life. There are much worse things out there in life. And those people have to look at it from the sense of REBT or CBT or acceptance commitment therapy, ACT, and start to bring down the catastrophizing. Because we have a disorder, we are masters at catastrophizing. Excuse me. And that is absolutely key. So once you break those fears down, and you don't always have to, but many people, me, Oliver, Kirsty, Lisette, almost all the moderators, lots of people I've talked to that don't work for Rob and have made great progress, usually need to go towards the core fear. They needed to break down that core fear in order to move forward and see that it's just an illusion. But it's just a belief. It's just a belief. OCD is the cycle goes on, the hamster wheel turns because of the belief you're holding in the moment. It's not out to get you. Yes, it might be a cruel disorder in ways. It's not the boogeyman under the bed that you could never recover from. You can recover. And actually, what's interesting, while you're going through recovery, you can feel really uncomfortable for 2-3 years while you're making progress until you reach the stages that you want to reach or where you get to in life. And you could still enjoy your life. You can enjoy your life with something stuck in like an earworm or a hyper-awareness or somatic OCD. You absolutely can enjoy your life and do things. I'm not saying you're agreeing with it. That's the mistake that many make. You don't have to like it, but you do have a choice whether you catastrophize or not. That's key. Rob and I always talk about the monk in Vietnam who lit himself on fire in the protest. Rob and I were just like, that is wild. Like, that perspective is insane. It's not like he didn't have pain fibers. Like, he felt pain, like all of us. If I lit myself on fire, I'm sure I'd be running around screaming. But this guy didn't. He sat there until he moved on. And that's a perspective right there. He has a strong perspective shift and a willpower to move forward. This is key. You got to realize, or start to realize and adopt that these philosophies and breaking down your core fears take time. They don't come overnight. I wish they did. Could you imagine if you could recover from OCD in 1 week? That would be awesome. Might be in the future. Might be able to turn the gene off one day. That's why Rob likes to talk about Elon Musk Neuralink. Who knows? But right now, what we know is we can recover. We know that the fear is a driving factor. Again, earworms, hyper-awareness, stuff like that, repetitive stuff, plays over into repetitive thoughts as well. Fear, fear of being stuck forever, fear of going backwards once you make some progress. Oh no, I'm at square one. You're not at square one. You've made great progress. You just are having a relapse as part of the journey. Remember, the journey isn't linear. The journey is not linear like this. The journey is a weird circle. Some of your best days followed by your worst days and vice versa. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe down below. Lots of videos coming up. Shoot me stuff down below. Ask me questions. I always engage 15, 20 minutes a day on the YouTube channel and Facebook. And I'm more than willing to talk to you and, go about maybe deciding on what questions people want and then develop them into content for all of you. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day and have a good one.